Ready to start with the post-tea session. Cross-sectoral water transversality for accelerating net zero. In this session, our esteemed speakers are as follows. Professor Medha Bisht, Associate Professor, South Asian University. Professor Kshemendra K, Upadhyay, Professor and Chairperson, Center for Sustainability and CSR, BIMTECH. Ms. Kalyani Raj, Patron, All India Women's Conference. Ms. Neha Gupta, Founder, IFBEC. Mr. MP Singh, former Chief of Operations, JICA. And Mr. Pradeep S. Mehta, who is the esteemed Moderator, Secretary General, CUTS International. May I request them all to please join us on the stage.
Go ahead.
A warm welcome to you all. Before we start the session, a quick introduction to each and every speaker. We warmly welcome Professor Medha Bisht, Associate Professor at South Asian University, a scholar of international relations. She specializes in regional security, environmental governance, and South Asian cooperation. A very warm welcome to you. We warmly welcome Professor Kshemendra K. Upadhyay. He is Professor and Chairperson of the Center for Sustainability and CSR at the Birla Institute of Management Technology. He is a sustainability and CSR expert. A very warm welcome to you. Ms. Kalyani Raj is the patron of the All India Women's Conference, India's oldest women's NGO, founded in 1927. She is a former banker with over 3 decades of experience in finance. A very warm welcome to you. Ms. Neha Gupta is the founder of the International Fashion Business Exchange Council, driving sustainable and circular fashion collaboration across industry, government, and global partners to position India as a responsible fashion business hub. A very warm welcome to you. And our esteemed moderator, we have already met him, but once again, a very warm welcome to Mr. Pradeep S. Mehta, Secretary General of CUTS International, a noted public policy advocate, and has spent 4 decades promoting consumer rights, competition policy, and good governance. And of course, we have, Shri MP Singh, we are ready to welcome here in our midst. He has very close relationship with Japan and formerly was the Chief of Operations at JICA. So a very warm welcome to you, sir. I now hand it over to the esteemed moderator to take the session forward.
Thank you very much. We have a little bigger crowd. One question I would like to ask the audience, as something which always puzzles me. What is the most precious thing which every human being, nearly every human being possesses and would not like to lose? Sorry? Any other guesses? No, something in your hand. The mobile phone. I feel it nice if you could, focus on the speakers rather than on your mobile phone and check your messages or whatever comes to your mind. As much as you would keep your phones on silent, please keep them off screen as well. And this is going to be only a 45-minute session. So I would expect my panelists to be as precise, as succinct as far as possible. Is Kalyani Raj not joining us?
Sent a message, she's not well.
Okay, good. Yeah. Right. I remember that. Well, she is a victim of the title of this conference. We had a good session in the morning. 3 brilliant expositions about the work they were doing and the kind of impact that they had. There were 2 takeaways which I would like to share with you if you were not there in the earlier session. Is there are a lot of small successes happening all over the country in every which area. But the replication is a little poor. It could be, replicated in a big way. I think somebody has to take the challenge, which is, in my opinion, the government agency now is probably Niti Aayog, which is, engaged with these kind of things. If they have the bandwidth, I mean, they're sort of quite overloaded with a lot of things. And unlike the Planning Commission, Niti Aayog is doing quite well. When the Niti Aayog first came into being, people thought since it did not have financial powers, therefore, governments will not take them seriously. But I don't think that is happening. We've had some good management there. Now, let me come back to the topic. So the second takeaway was, we're not addressing downsides. Downsides often lead to fictitious claims. As we've seen in the Jal Jeevan Mission, the amount of corruption which is happening in the country, the amount of money which is going to the pockets of bureaucrats and engineers, and not getting into the field. The whole idea was, I mean, very, I would say very, not a holy idea, but a very solemn idea of taking water through pipeline into villages to women's homes so that they don't have to walk miles to go and get water. So the idea was excellent. Now, I don't know how much of that has been implemented on actual fact, not on papers. Many things do happen on papers. And so one of the downsides, they said, look, the idea is that if we have to achieve any of these goals, then the downsides have to be addressed simultaneously and equally strongly. Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve the kind of thing that we're looking at. There is a climate disaster happening. And therefore, these conversations, these exchanges are extremely important. But these exchanges and conversations have to be translated into action. And as I was saying in the morning, I mean, my own organization does a lot of work on the ground on many of these issues. And therefore, I do have some grassroots experience as well, rather than just talking about in Geneva or Washington or what have you. We are building a lot of water bodies in southern Rajasthan, particularly through voluntary effort of villages, rather than any external effort. Of course, we do use the Narega as an entry point, because so we get into the conversation with the local administration in order to use the Narega funds. You employ labor, let us put them into a constructive job, particularly water bodies, anikats and johars, as you call them. Johar is the word that we use in Rajasthan. Yeah. So we do that. I mean, among many other things. We do a lot of work in terms of cleanliness in the city of Jaipur. Of course, much more has to be done. The biggest problem that we find, and this is something, is the issue of mindset change. The same people sitting in a house, living in a house on the street in which we are carrying out a cleaning operation, is not bothered. ये मेरा काम नहीं तो municipality का काम है, आप क्यों कर रहे हैं? We even ask this question. Why are you doing it? So you get into these kind of situations. But anyway, with that, now we have limited time. I've been asked that 45 minutes. We must conclude by 11:45. We have about half an hour and 5 of you. So what I would like you to do is no speeches. Now, share some of your experiences or your own thoughts as precisely as possible and as provocatively as possible. I have tried to be provocative, and therefore, otherwise we can't have a good discussion or good debate or good discourse if you want to achieve the goals that we have, that are there staring at us. Thank you. Can I start with Mr. MP Singh? Sorry, your name is not there in the agenda, so it took me a little time to remember that I have 4 to 5 minutes.
I am MP Singh.
4 to 5 minutes.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I am MP Singh former Chief of the Operations with Japan International Cooperation Agency. Before I speak, let me also give my background, and probably then I would be in a better position to explain.
Sure.
Basically, I was the 87 batch civil servant, and then after serving around 12 years, I joined the Japan government. And in Japan government, I have been there for 28 years. And in 28 years, I have been responsible basically for the infrastructure and environment related projects, development, execution, and achieving this goal of the zero kind of the waste. Fortunately, I have been the in charge.
Mostly in the Northeast?
Including Northeast, all over India. Now, when we talk about, I remember yesterday the Minister Saab also mentioned that we have to conserve our Mother Earth. And if we conserve the Mother Earth, then it includes the zero waste, whether it's a water, whether it's a energy, whether it's a manufacturing, any of the thing. And for achieving so, the best thing is that we have to give the proper time in the project preparation, which normally we lack. And normally when the bosses say, prepare the project, prepared in a small time, and then it's a just opposite to the Japanese culture. They take the 10 years in the project preparation, and if they say it will be done in 2 years, normally it is done within the 1.5 years. The reason for that is that they give the enough time in the project preparation. When we talk about the project preparation, it includes all the clearances, the latest technology involved. Latest technology, that is very, very necessary. And top of everything is the environmental impact assessment. If we take all these things into the consideration, then the next thing comes the decision taking. The decision taking has to be the very, very decentralized one, and with kind of one mission that the project needs to be done on, say, emergent basis, and quick decisions are must. So that is the second essence for the speedy execution. And the third thing is the funding. I think I was just looking at this innovative finance for climate and the fund. That is very, very important, that unless the funding is tied up or unless the funding is linked up somewhere, I think we should not start the project. Once some indication is there, let us start that project. So that is the another important factor. And then while we are formulating the project or while we are executing the project, I think one of the very important aspects we always forget is that how we will ensure its sustainability. Sustainability, when we talk, it's not only simply that the project has to be financially viable, but also while the project is operating, it is not giving any kind of bad impact to the environment or to any of the sources.
Can I ask you a question? In the earlier panel, we discussed this issue about PPPs.
Before, sir, you raised the question, I just, one more point. And in the external assisted projects, one very important point is always there, that after completion of the project, normally they do the monitoring on the second year and on the 7th years of the project completion, which really puts lot of emphasis on the project sustainability. Now you can reach.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I'm aware of JICA and the kind of work and the kind of discipline which Japanese have is phenomenal. If only we can absorb 5% of the discipline what the Japanese have, or the consideration that they have towards the others, etc., we will be a fantastic country. We are exactly the opposite. Now, when you have been a civil servant and an executor also, that's a very interesting combination. One of the issues that I discussed in my opening remarks and what we discussed earlier was the issue of the governance deficit. How do you deal with that?
Yes. Sir, for the governance purpose, let me also tell you that we have funded the Ganga Action Plan and Yamuna Action Project in our country.
Right.
And this is a centrally funded projects, but the states take interest only just knowing that funds will come. But they don't take the local government or the city government into the on the board, and that's why, because of that, the local body government, they don't take much interest. That's the one thing. Second thing is that normally what happens that, okay, funds are coming, let us execute it, and once the stage comes for the operation and maintenance, at that time they look again at the government that if you give me the funds, then only I will operate and maintain, otherwise no. So in considering these kind of things, we suggested, we agreed also the hybrid annuity model, in which if the project is to be constructed, then only 40% of the capital cost is must go, remaining in 10 years.
One very important takeaway from his point was, Arvindji, is the improper or incomplete or inadequate implementation of Article 73 and 74. 74 phir bhi theek hai, or 73 is terrible. Gave just an example of that. You know, state governments don't want to give money to local governments. ये सब साले चोर है खा जाएंगे. अरे चोर तो तुम भी हो, तुम भी खा रहे हो. Am I right?
And sir, one more point.
74 का आप हालत देखिए ना क्या हो रही देश में. And we have done work on that, if I can speak with some authority.
One more point also I would like to share that normally during my tenure, whenever the Japanese new people, teams were coming.
Tell us about your tenure as civil servant.
Sorry?
You tell us about your tenure as civil servant.
Sir,
we were talking about governance issues.
I started my career from the Ministry of Industry. I was there, and then I worked in Ministry of Commerce, and after that I worked with the Ministry of Fertilizers, and from there I resigned. And the reason, if you ask me, you will be surprised. What I thought is that, okay, I am doing something for my country, but again, the industrialists become big and big industrial, mega big industrial. But what I am doing for the
man on the ground,
last
or
man
the person on the ground
in the society. And I think that was the only one point based on which I took the decision, and I went to this international organization, and there I am really happy that I could serve to the lowest section of the society in all my projects. And one of my shining example, which is not only in India, but in the world, is the Delhi Metro. And if you really want to hear about a story, the Kolkata Metro, which was first metro project in our country, it was constructed in 25 years, 6 kilometers. And what we did, that we did the complete history of the Kolkata Metro, and based on that, we decided, together with Mr. Dr. Sridharan, that 60 kilometers should be completed in 10 years. And based on the kind of the new ideas came from Indian side, based on technology and new idea and culture came from the Japanese side. Sir, the 10 years, in place of 10 years, the first phase of 65 kilometer in place of 60 kilometer, it was completed in 8.5 years.
Mr. Singh, I've lived in Calcutta when the metro was under construction, and it used to create a lot of chaos, traffic chaos, etc. Don't forget that the Delhi soil and the Calcutta soil are two different animals.
Sir,
therefore, when you're talking about building a metro in Calcutta, you cannot compare it to building a metro in Delhi.
Sir, the second phase, sir, the next phase of the Kolkata Metro, which was funded by JICA, you will be surprised that that is being done in time.
I know.
If soil and other things are there, then certainly systems and the mechanism is also very important.
This points to the downside, I am saying, the governance deficit. In Calcutta, aaj ka hobe na, kal ke.
Sir, besides this
Poojo
thing.
Poojo pore. Koi bhi cheez kar rahe pooje ke baad mein.
And sir, I am happy to declare that the Delhi Metro is the only project in the world.
You were awarded yesterday for that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Which became operationally the project in the world. Other than Delhi Metro, now two more are there who are the kind of in the operational profits. No project.
Jaipur Metro is not operating in profit.
Yes.
Very bad selection of routes.
And the success story of this Delhi Metro, sir, I have shared with at least 10 foreign governments. That is, I really feel proud of.
So, no, therefore, that is the lesson which I said. How do we replicate these success stories elsewhere? I agree that, the geology of Calcutta and Delhi may be different, but you can handle it through technology. Of course, it can be done. And Calcutta will be done, I'm sure. The issue is the downside that I was talking about, one is this Article 74. Arvindji, you have to work on Article 74. If you want, real sort of, sort of filtration down, otherwise the water will not go down. It will remain at the level of Delhi or Jaipur or Madras. Having said that, can I request, sorry, Neha, beg your pardon. I just met her. That my apologies. How can I forget the name of a very pretty lady?
So as a Fashion Business Council, I'm representing a very important industry who is contributing around 93 cubic metric meters of water. And this is wasted, all wasted down that lane. And this is what the industry is contributing. So here, because we are with the India Water Foundation is why I'm highlighting water. But of course, this industry contributes a lot towards air pollution, towards water pollution. When we talk about the waste management is very poorly handled. But unfortunately, this industry has not been looked at it. We have been talking about e-waste, we have been talking about plastic waste, but what about the fashion waste or textile waste? And this number is going to grow multifold. Of what we can see is currently we have 43% of the waste in the landfill. This and globally 63%. Yeah, 43% is of textile waste is on the landfill, and 63% is globally, because India still has a culture of downsizing and giving it to people. Globally, we don't have that culture yet. And with the current...
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
We work in Africa.
Yeah.
And Africa imports a lot of second-hand garments.
It's not by choice, sir.
Sorry?
It's not by choice.
No, not by choice.
Yeah,
In the sense
it's
that
the
they can only
economic.
afford it.
Right.
It's affordability.
It's
And they use
basically
it.
a dumping ground.
Even-
So
Even
India...
in India, you find my driver buys second-hand clothes from a thelawala which has come as scrap.
So
For
where
example.
we have the studies that Tirupur and Panipat has been considered as recycling hubs in India.
Okay.
But we are the dumping grounds for other countries.
Correct.
And we recycle that. But if we say that what do we do with our own waste, we still don't have a
Yeah.
solution in
I think
place.
that is the point.
Yeah. So, and now that there are restrictions for the cross-border when it comes to discarding your post-consumer waste, is where we are facing restrictions on that front.
Right.
And because earlier, if we talk about the European regions or so, the quality of the imported waste materials was much, much superior, because it's majorly the winter-based, this thing, they wear all the hottie and shorties. So that works well for the recycling purpose. But India is majorly to do with polyester. It has all the possible blends. We don't have that kind of quality that comes from the European regions. And to recycle that is a challenge. But now that, and what was happening as India is a जुगाड़ू country. तो recycling के नाम से आता था, recycling के नाम से आता था, और वो जाता था second hand market में.
Hello.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the value of innovation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's what even sir like
Be
mentioned.
proud about it.
So we don't sharp our ass and we start hitting के कहीं ना कहीं तो लगेगा ही. So there is where is the difference between Japan and India, because हम लोग हर जगह पे मारते हैं, बोला कहीं ना कहीं लग जाएगा, अपना काम हो जाएगा. नहीं लगेगा तो हम कुछ अलग जुगाड़ निकाल लेंगे. So that's how we work. But unfortunately, that's how our approach has been. But I'll say it's not even going in the second-hand market, but it's also people change the tax, and it's going in the fresh market. So there are a lot of brands, I would not like to name them, but there are brands who just change the labels there, which comes from the foreign countries. So because of all of this is where the EU legislation has been very strict now, and are sending the imports in the tiered position, so that it can't be circulated back and it can be recycled. Now, as a council, the role that we played is majorly we are focusing on the western region of India, so Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Goa. And there, we, as the Maharashtra as a whole region doesn't have a single recycling plant, we got in a policy from the Maharashtra government perspective that at least 12 recycling plants should be envisioned in Maharashtra, where we see that how we can create circularity in our city. And we can have more like an NGO approach where we can create livelihood, on-ground livelihood with the waste picker community or so. They can generate income. There could be upcycling that can happen. And then it can go for recycling and as industry, because that's a feedstock for the recycling. And this is not an option now for the textile industry, but it's a mandate, because all the global brands have already committed that they will be using, so everything that you are wearing now will have 30 to 50% of recycled yarns in next 5 years. But the industry is not prepared for it. There is where we are representing the MSMEs and playing that role so that there could be an ease of operation. And this is more like a rally race. It's one person can't lead it all. So NGO sector से वो कैसे industry sector पे आए और वहाँ पे recycling हो पाए, and then there is where we are getting government commitments so that there is some procurement support for them to start with, and then going towards
Are you in
plant.
touch with the Ministry of Environment?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, the whole recycling
Yeah.
mission, which has been actually pushed by Narendra Modi,
Yeah.
the Prime Minister.
But still, textile is struggling in its own way because it's quite complex as a value chain. Where when we talk about polyester, it can go in different industry. It can go in petrochemical. It can go in plastic. So, yeah.
Can I come to Devashish?
KK Upadhyay.
Sorry, KK. I beg your pardon.
No, sir, I have been very lucky to work beside you in Rajasthan. I like to tell that story in very brief. I graduated from Institute of Rural Management, Anand, under Dr. Varghese Korean. I was in the first batch. So we had training with Amul, Operation Flood. So when I joined Bhoruka Group, Dr. Ashok Agarwal, that time government wanted to do something in drinking water basically. So we formulated a project. It was called Apni Yojana, which was around 12,000 crores project. तो पहला चीज जो हमने किया लाइक अमूल वी डिड ए 3-tier सिस्टम बेसिकली गांव में हमने विलेज डेवलपमेंट कमेटी बनाई विच वाज डोमिनेटेड बाय वुमेन बेसिकली आपको पता राजस्थान में अगर आप दोनों मिक्स रखिए तो कुछ होता नहीं है तो इट हैज टू बी वुमेन बेसिकली एंड सेकंड थिंग इज एट द ब्लॉक लेवल वी मेड ए ब्लॉक कमेटी वेयर दे विल मॉनिटर इट एंड देन इट वाज डन विद द पीएचडी डिपार्टमेंट जो भी टेक्निकल वर्क है मतलब जो कंस्ट्रक्शन है खोदना है पाइप ले करना है पावर पंप लगाने हैं दैट वाज डन बाय पीएचडी डिपार्टमेंट एंड ऑल अदर वर्क वाज डन बाय द एनजीओज बेसिकली सो आई वाज रिप्रेजेंटिंग भोरुका ग्रुप टीसीआई गाती इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ हेल्थ मैनेजमेंट रिसर्च तो उसमें गांधी इंस्टीट्यूट्स भी थे वी वर 4 ऑफ अस तो जो गांव का काम था वो लोग करते थे तो पहला उसमें लेसन ये था कि इट वाज ए स्टेक होल्डर कि अगर आप सबको साथ लेके नहीं चलेंगे तो काम नहीं होगा सेकंड गुड थिंग वाज गवर्नमेंट एग्रीड कि दे विल पे फॉर द ड्रिंकिंग वाटर बेसिकली जो कि गवर्नमेंट के लिए मतलब आपको पता ही है कि गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम में बहुत मुश्किल होता है कि पीने के पानी के लिए पैसे लेंगे एंड इट वेंट ऑन प्रोजेक्ट वेंट इट वाज फॉर अबाउट 7 years इट वेंट ऑन फॉर 12 years क्वाइट सक्सेसफुल मतलब आई विल से 70% सक्सेसफुल बाकी थोड़ा तो हमारे डिस्कशन के लिए प्रश्न हम रखते हैं बाद में तो दैट वाज वन गुड एग्जांपल वेयर ऑल स्टेक होल्डर्स वर वर्किंग टुगेदर एंड सेकंड थिंग इज like this was a German KfW money basically so we also had that review system कि भाई आपके कौन से how you're using your labor platform labor to all the human rights and all so that was taken care of तो उसमें एक अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस ये रहा सर और अभी आफ्टर रिटायरमेंट फ्रॉम फिकी आई वाज डायरेक्टर CSR विद फिकी नाउ आई कम टू एकेडमिक्स तब ये बातें करना अच्छा लगता है सर
Thank you very much. Medha ji.
So I come from a very different field altogether, I would say, in comparison to my co-panelists here. I teach international
That
relations.
is the interesting part.
Yeah, so I teach.
Quite a mosaic.
I teach international relations at the Faculty of International Studies at the South Asian University. South Asian University would be knowing as a SARC university. It was formed in 2010. And as far as my own journey is concerned, I think in relation to what it started way back with my MPhil and my PhD, when I started really looking at how do civil society organizations mobilize, pressure, lobby states at the international level.
There's a
Now,
good example picking up from Mr. KK's presentation about how NGOs have been able to do things. What is your view on that?
So when you are in fact really looking at civil society, that's really a broad category because there are these formal NGOs, the NGOs which he's talking about, there are these CBOs, community building organizations, formal collectives, informal collectives. And I think I wouldn't really say that wouldn't really linearly, in a linear manner connect the kind of efforts which they make and the impact which you really see at the international level. But I think, as I always say, they are these small worlds. Small worlds. We, in fact, as diplomacy students or IR students, we do have meta narratives or macro narratives. But I think we really need to go down to these micro narratives. And when you, in fact, really socialize, associate with the people who are working on the ground, you in fact get an understanding of those micro narratives. And I think the biggest challenge, particularly coming and looking at water diplomacy, one of the biggest challenge for me personally, what I found is that how do you really bridge the micro narratives with the macro narratives? It has to be a two-way communication, not a top-down communication. And here I'll give you a very interesting analogy. In fact, what inspired me at some point of time was that if you really look at Mahabharata, what really makes Mahabharata a classic in its, it's an epic. And there is a macro narrative, but there are multiple stories in that meta narrative, the micro stories, and they are all linked to each other. So I think there is where, when we are talking about, I would say the 3 C's here, collaboration, communication, connection, these kind of spaces need to in fact really interact and learn and relearn from each other. So I think one really needs to go away or append a very siloed, compartmentalized approach, and it's only through conversations that one can in fact really learn to deal with these very complex problems which the 21st century faces. Because simple problems, they say, need simple solutions. But complex problems need complicated solutions, and it is there that these micro narratives need to weave in with the macro narratives. And this is something like has been an important part of my work. I think it's both. When we are in fact really talking about the individual level, I mean, we in fact talk about sustainable development, but I think if you do not really translate it into your human behavior, that sustainability at the human level, at your own level is very, very important. And then of course, it has to go to the society and then further, but it really has to start with your individual level. So I think it's both the individual and the collective which count here. But at the same time, and this I think is very, very important, as again a student of international relations. Now we know many of these norms, many of these treaties are being negotiated at the international level, but I think what we as countries, like particularly Global South, need to see that how do these norms translate at the local and the national level? Are we really norm takers here? Or are we also really adding to those norms? So if you, and let me just add here before I just close. If you really look at the India-EU trade deal, so you look at the example of the CBAMs. So once we are dealing with the EU, we are also in fact importing their governance architectures. And I think you were just talking about replication, and the thought which came to my mind is that where India wants, if it really wants to be the leader of the Global South, what it really needs to do, that it needs to document what's really going on, and it really needs to upscale it and come out with its own models so that it can be an epistemic leader in that regard.
In terms of replication, what I was suggesting was locally. Something good happening in Bangalore, is it being translated to Bhopal and so on and so forth? Not from outside. No, 1 minute. Let me complete. In terms of South-South cooperation, we're doing a lot of this work, by the way, our organization. We have 3 centers in Africa. And you'll be surprised the kind of work that they do by learning from us and from Bangladesh and Nepal and Pakistan and all these South Asian countries. We have a very active, ongoing program for many years.
Well, that's wonderful.
And there are many things that we do at the grassroots level which you'll be surprised.
Absolutely. But I think, this really needs to be upscaled.
Giving you an example of cattle breeding, for example. The practices that we were able to share from here through experts to Kenya was fantastic. Not that they didn't have any knowledge of their own, they had traditional knowledge, but something which we are doing better, they tested it and they found it better. This is one small example. I can give you many examples, but anyway, that is to respond to your issue, the talk about international and national and micro and macro.
Yes.
By the way, we do a lot of macro work in the area of economics also.
Yes, that's true. You get sociology.
I'll spare,
Yes.
spare the audience with the work on economics.
Yeah. But maybe I'll just add in here. So I started working on the Himalayan rivers, and one of the things when we really look at the river, and this also really speaks to this broader conference, is that how do you really define the river first? You know, is it just the water, the H2O, or is it really a system of sorts? That's also very, very important, because when you're in fact really defining the river, it's not just the river. It's the wetlands, it's the biodiversity, it's the sediments. So it's this web-based system, a network-based system, a system-based approach which is needed, and which again really makes me go back
I was
to
supposed to speak on the
interconnections.
work we have done on that exactly point which you made, but I was given the job of moderating the earlier panel and this panel, and now the time is coming to an end, so I'm not going to speak, make my own speech. But I'll be happy to share with you my speech,
Lovely,
so
definitely.
you understand
Yes.
it. So we've done it over Brahmaputra and Ganges basins.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking at, the Mekong region, for example. Anyway, with that, we are coming to an end, and we'll be happy to take some questions. We have another 5 minutes to go. Any questions from the audience? Or are you still busy on your mobile phones? I don't take questions through mobile phones. I take it orally. Any question? Sir? Huh. Who? Your partner means? No, do you want to ask questions to others other than Neha?
Sir,
Please.
can I?
Please, the panelists can ask questions.
Yeah, it's not
To
a
each
question.
other.
It's not a question. I want to share a few things.
Ji.
One is that you mentioned about the replicability. If Delhi Metro is such a successful model, what are the factors which made it so successful?
Sridharan. One factor.
That is one factor.
The factor.
That is one factor. Another factor which is very important is that certain value added inputs, which normally these are not there in the detailed projects report. These are added in the project. For example, I just give you very, very quick example that normally HIV AIDS mitigation measures, it's nowhere. And it looks to be, why in the infrastructure project, HIV AIDS mitigation, why the malaria mitigation measures? And this is all being done so that no negative impact on the society are there. And another important thing is, sir, I introduced one of the very crucial, one of the decision I implemented it in my projects, which perhaps the very, very successful, that is, as against the international practices in the contracting, the payment needs to be done within 57 days. Am I right? And I introduced that within the, after submission of the invoice, the 80% payment should be done within 24 hours. Remaining 20% you can do it in 28 days. And the resultant of this is that number one, the project execution period decreases. Number two, the contractors are so much relaxed that they submit the proposal, the next tender, which are in sometimes it is going even the 10 or 12 or 15% lesser than the estimates. So you can think of that how much benefit is going not only to the project authorities, but to the public also by the speedy execution.
Why can't you replicate this in the government?
Sir, it is being replicated wherever our projects were there. You take the Ahmedabad Metro, Bangalore water supply, Delhi, even in other cities, Chennai also, it has been done. And that's why the progress is really going very fast.
Very good.
Thank you.
I mean, these are the kind of good examples which should be replicated all over. And I remember seeing something which is off the track, but very important to understand. The Singapore government, Singapore is a very successful country in terms of attracting investment. They published a book carrying about 30 case studies calling it hard work, not heart work. Sorry, heart work. Heart work. You know, the kind of, the bureaucracy is so trained there that, look, you have to deliver these goods. And the investor is your client, is your customer. He's not dependent on you, following Gandhi's famous dictum. हमारे यहाँ तो उल्टा है. हमारे यहाँ बुरा मत मानिए कि सिंह साहब, आपके जो साथी हैं सरकार में, वो कहते हमसे क्या लेने आया है, खुद का क्या फायदा होगा. I mean, such a lack of distrust in our system is just horrible. Horrible.
Sir, one more tagline I would like to leave behind is that whenever this Japanese society or any person, they were coming in India, I was the basically mentor for them, that how you can adjust yourself. And my pet sentence was that Indian brains are the best brains in the world.
That's all.
Believe me. But again, the question comes that why we lack. So the two things for that are, one is sincerity and another is the commitment. When I say sincerity, the difference between the system is that if I am bureaucrat here, my 10 meetings are fixed, and I am sorry to say, sometime I go without preparing myself that which meeting I have to attend. Even I don't know. I just listen, thank you, and then matter finished. But on the other side, in Japanese system, if you are going for the meeting, they know everything about you before meet, what the questions will come from you and what the answers would be there. And so far, so sir, very senior officials like governors and the presidents, when they come, they sit with the notepad and pink, which is basically lacking in our system. Normally we listen, forget.
Ego bahut hai na.
Sir, let us not talk these things.
Why should we not talk?
But the thing is...
No, why should we not talk? These are all our debilitators.
But
whatever you want to achieve, you can't achieve.
That's correct, sir. But the thing is that if you change the culture, that you have to finish your work by yourself. You don't have to be dependent on subordinates.
Anyway.
Perhaps the things will really improve. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. With that, if there's no question, then we come to an end. Yeah. I would like to thank all the panelists once again for a very lively discussion, and I hope that the audience enjoyed it. And the couple of takeaways is once what I read has to be reiterated by what I said earlier, is the issue about execution. Singh ji, I often write, and my last article also spoke about the fact that there are three problems in India: implementation, and implementation. You have proven me wrong in your limited area of working with JICA. But can that be replicated? That is the other lesson that we need to draw.
Sir, that is the really benefit of availing the external assistance. Because external assistance, when it comes with the knowledge,
I agree.
with the success models elsewhere available. So if we really adopt those, we should not say that it is externally funded, so this policy should be applied here. If we apply across the board within the department, perhaps there will be significant.
नहीं, हमने भी बहुत नॉलेज हमारे यहाँ से अफ्रीका और एशिया के गरीब देशों में शेयर की है, और उसका बहुत फ़ायदा हुआ है. उसके लिए मुझे 2 घंटा चाहिए.
We are talking that things are not good in India, and we are coming from a different mindset where we try to find solutions, easy solutions to things. But I may also have a contradictory point where we see Zomato, we see all the healthcare as an industry which is blooming in India, which is not there everywhere. The ease of operations is much more here. And there is where India also has the power of laborers and the people, the manpower is here.
Low cost.
I'll not say low cost, but I'll say that the manpower is here if utilized with the right way, skilled well, and being given a right kind of a lens to it. That's a strength to India.
Thank you very much. Can I request the audience to applaud the excellent panel? At the least. Thank you very much. It was wonderful moderating this panel and getting all the best out of all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, panelists, for your inputs. And thank you, sir, for making it a very lively discussion. We present a small token of our appreciation and thanks to all the esteemed panelists. I request the esteemed chair to kindly do us the honors. May I request Mr. Mehta, the esteemed moderator, to kindly present mementos to the esteemed speakers. We start by thanking Professor Medha Bisht. Our thanks to Professor Medha Bisht. We thank Professor Kshemendra K. Upadhyay, Professor and Chairperson, Center for Sustainability and CSR, BIMTECH. We thank Ms. Neha Gupta, Founder, IFBEC. Our thanks to Mr. MP Singh. Former Chief of Operations at JICA. And now to present a memento to the esteemed moderator, may I request Dr. Arvind Kumar to please join us on stage.
I would like a sari to give to my wife.
I'm afraid that's a request we'll have to put forth to Dr. Kumar. With that, we move on to our next session. Greening industry, fueling growth via ESG partnerships for sustainability. I request the back-end team to please get the stage ready.